Hello everybody, today we are going to be taking a look at the driver assist features that come on Hondas. This is my new car. It's a 2024 Civic hatchback with a manual transmission, the Sport line. I am very pleased with this, but I do feel it's necessary to talk about how the driver assist features work on Hondas. They all function through the sensors built right behind the windshield here up by the rear view mirror. This particular model has lane centering, adaptive cruise control, and lane keep assist. So we're going to go over these features, how you control them, and what it's actually like to use them in the real world. All right, here we are inside of the vehicle, and most of the controls are going to be here on the right-hand side of the steering wheel. We've got the pretty standard controls of cruise control on and off, cancel if you want to get rid of the setting that your cruise control is on at the moment, and the distance for the adaptive cruise control. It starts off with 4 bars when you first turn it on. It does thankfully have a memory for where you have this set. In the area that I am in, which is right outside of DC, I can have this set on the minimum distance and it still leaves plenty of room for me to be cut off constantly. So not always usable when you are on busier beltways and rush hour traffic or whatever the case may be. And here we have the controls for the lane centering. That I find fantastic on the highway. The other controls that we have are actually all the way down here on the lower left-hand side. This is where you will see the controls for turning on the lane keep assist and the brake assist to try and mitigate accidents. When you press this button, it will bring up options on the dashboard. So I apparently have to clear this off because I'm trying to get that. Okay, so here we see the two options. It starts off with the lane, they're calling it road departure mitigation for the lane keep assist, and then the other one is the collision mitigation braking system. If you want to actually change the settings on these, I'm selecting back and forth with the little rotary knob on the steering wheel here. You can go back out. There's road departure mitigation. Just press that and it turns it off. Collision mitigation, can press that and it turns it off. I'm going to go ahead and leave on this one. This is how I normally have it set up. I upgraded from a 20-year-old vehicle, and so I was really not accustomed to that road departure mitigation. I am accustomed to, you know, you turn your steering wheel and it doesn't fight you. Particularly, this can be annoying if you are getting off of a freeway or something. If they have that dashed line on the road, it will fight you when you are trying to take an exit. So that is something to consider. It can get kind of frustrating. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back on for the time being, just so that you can see how it works when we go for a drive. Let's go ahead and go over what it's like using each of these systems. Let's go ahead and head on out for a drive. I'm going to go ahead and show you what it's like with the lane departure mitigation system and the lane centering and the cruise control here on this first run. Now you can see on the dashboard, since I have that departure mitigation system on, there is a line just on the left-hand side of the display. That is because the road was only painted on the left-hand side. There was cars parked on the right, and it doesn't know what to do with that. Now that I've got lines on both sides of me, you've got white lines on either side. So now you can see here, if I veer just a little bit off to the left, hey, apparently nothing. I was not going fast enough for it to care. Let's try that again. Oh, there we go. I got like halfway over into the lane before I got a departure warning, and it started nudging me back off into my lane. So it's nice that it's there, but it is not the most useful thing in the world. Let's go ahead and get over onto a faster road here. Now you can see here the lines on the display on the center console have disappeared because there are no lines painted on the road here. There's a tiny little bit there, So the usability of this system really depends on how well painted the lines are. And it looks like I'm going to be getting into some slightly heavier traffic here. Once you get over 45 miles an hour, you can activate the lane keep assist. So now you see it's in green on there, and it is centering me. You can see the speed limit of 45 flashing. The sensor does pick up the speed limits as you drive past them, and it will flash if you are currently above that speed limit when it detects the sign. I'm gonna go ahead and try to, hey, yeah, it's warning me of the departure, but it didn't fight me too much there. I have noticed that the amount that it works against you is highly variable. I'm not entirely sure what makes it fight more or less, but it definitely differs. I'm gonna try to show something that I have come across with the lane keep assist, lane departure mitigation, whatever they want to call it. And that is kind of an odd functionality of it when you are going around a curve. So let's see if I can actually get it to do it here. Well, lane departure. And even though it should be putting me back into the lane, it actually holds me on that curve for a while. So that is an odd little feature of this. When it detects that you're going around a curve and start to depart from the lane, it will actually hold you in that curve. So that is kind of interesting. I've gone ahead and put on the lane keep assist, and we're going to go ahead and turn on the adaptive cruise control. You can shift the speed up a little bit. As you can see, I've bumped it up to 55 miles an hour is the speed that it's going to try and keep. And based on the distance to the car in front of me, it's holding me down at about 53. This is as close as it will allow me to follow at this speed. If I press this and expand the distance between me and the car in front of me, apparently at this slow speed, it doesn't really care what I have it at. It's just going to hold me at this distance. Now if I drop it down, yeah, no distance. So the adaptive cruise control actually is dependent on the speed that you are going for how much of a gap it will leave between you and the car in front of you. You can see we are continuing to slow down. I turn it on at 55, I'm down to mid-40s. And continuing to slow down. And I'm not touching the brakes. It is actually applying the brakes on its own right now. We are down to, dropped down to almost 40. Since I was only in 5th gear and not in the overdrive 6th gear, that's not really a problem, but that is something to keep in mind if you have one of these with a manual transmission. I do understand that they're getting rid of the manual transmission with the next model year, so that is really unfortunate because it is just so much more fun to drive than a continuously variable transmission. And it's just, there is no comparison there in my mind. It is way more engaging to drive a manual. The continuously variable transmissions, I did test drive some of those before settling on the manual, and they are just sluggish, not terribly responsive, not super fun to drive. So that is a quick overview of the lane keep assist. I hope that you understand that I'm not going to be testing the emergency braking on this to mitigate accidents because it's a new car. I don't want to even risk that. Let's go ahead and get those turned off so that you can see the difference whenever I can pull off. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and press that. Turn off the lane keep assist, road departure mitigation, whatever. And keep on rolling. It is worth noting that these different features for driver assist will function differently under different conditions. The emergency braking and the adaptive cruise control, they are excellent things to have on the freeway. I have in the past been driving on a freeway and suddenly there's somebody who is only going 40 miles an hour in a 70 mile an hour speed limit freeway. And at that time, everything was gray. It was a very overcast day. The car was gray, and the driver assist features actually picked up that the car was going so slowly, much faster than I did, and it started slowing down dramatically. I was thinking, what the heck is going on here? And then I saw, oh, hey, there it was a little uncomfortable with how close I got to the car in front of me, and you saw that brake message pop up. In any case, it is very good at determining the speed of the car in front of you and adapting to how much space you need to leave, when it needs to slow down, all of that. It does seem to work very well in that respect. I have had much more mixed results with different road conditions, particularly with heavy rains. So I did turn off the lane keep assist, and you can see now I can just kind of veer from one lane into the next without the car fighting me or doing anything like that. In any case, the main way that I have found it to be less useful is when it is very rainy out, because these are optical sensors that it's working with behind the windshield. If that does get obscured by rain, it will turn the systems off. And by that, I don't mean, oh, it stops the lane keep assist. I mean, it turns off all of the systems. Your cruise control turns off, the lane keep assist turns off, the lane centering turns off. Everything suddenly shuts off. Ordinarily, that's not going to be a really big deal because you shouldn't be going that quickly when you are driving in heavy rains. But the time that I did find it to be a possible issue is I had cruise control on. It was raining a bit, but I was going fast enough with the cruise control that I was going to be passing a semi-truck. As I was passing it, as often happens with semis, a huge spray of water came off of it, and all of a sudden everything shuts off and I am no longer driving fast enough to be passing the trucks. So that can be potentially concerning. I must say it also works very well when you are driving on straight roads. When there are curvatures in the roads, that's when things start to get a little bit squirrely as far as the adaptive cruise control is concerned and when it feels it needs to brake. Because as you can see on the road that I'm coming up on here, we're going to be curving off to the right a little bit. If I had a large vehicle in the lane to my left, it would suddenly think that that car is actually in front of me and very close, and it would start to slow down dramatically. So that is something to be aware of with the adaptive cruise control. It does not deal well with the particular condition of you start on a curve and there is a large vehicle near you where it thinks that that vehicle is going to be in front of you momentarily. It will start to slow down dramatically, and I don't mean like, oh, you slow down 5 miles an hour. I mean, it hits on the brakes and you suddenly slow down 10 to 15 miles an hour. So that can be potentially concerning. I did say that it doesn't work terribly well when you are in heavy rains. I will say that that is also the case. It becomes way more conservative when the roads are wet and there is spray coming off of cars in front of you. I'm not sure if that is a programmed-in safety precaution due to the road conditions, or if the system is getting confused by the size of the object that it detects in front of you, because it will start to go much more slowly and it will leave a much greater distance between you and the car in front of you, even if it doesn't really seem necessary at that time. It is a very conservatively functioning system. Now we're going to get a good example of where it would typically be fighting me, because I'm going to be pulling up onto an exit where there is a dashed line on the road. If I had the departure mitigation system on, it would be fighting me, but hey, I can take this exit without it pushing me back into the main lanes of traffic. As a quick summary, these driver assistance features can basically make this seem like a self-driving car when you are on the freeway and it's straight conditions. There are some other weird things about it, like when you are driving, you did see the steering required thing pop up while I was on the freeway. That is something to keep in mind. It does actually want you to have your hands on the steering wheel. Normally that's not a problem, but if you are driving along the freeway and it's just very straight for a long time, it will suddenly think that you're not steering it, and it will give you warnings for not fighting against it, keeping you in the center of the lane. So that can be kind of strange, a little bit finicky with the system. Otherwise, it pretty much drives itself on the freeway. It maintains a safe distance, it keeps a regular speed, keeps you centered in the lane. It does get a little bit weird when you are going around curves, and I don't have a whole lot of construction areas around here, but if there is an area where you are suddenly shifted off by about half a lane, it's not really going to know what to do with multiple sets of lines on the road, even if some of them are a little bit more prominent than others, as they tend to do with construction. So that is something to consider. If you're in an area with well-marked roads, it will work well for keeping you in the lane. If you're in an area where the roads are not well marked or there's a lot of construction, it can start to get a little bit finicky, and I actually wouldn't use the cruise control, particularly if you're in an area with construction, bad weather, lots of curves, lot of vehicles around you. It starts to get a little bit finicky with all of these things. So just something to keep in mind. Otherwise, like I said before, coming from a 20-year-old car that didn't even have normal cruise control, this is a dramatic step up. So all in all, I'm very pleased with it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. I'll do my best to answer whatever I can. Otherwise, like, share, subscribe. I will see you next time.